What was supposed to be the beginning of a normal school week in the southern Philippines quickly turned into one of the country's deadliest disasters in recent years. On the morning of June 8th, a massive earthquake struck off the coast of Mindanao, triggering building collapses, panic evacuations, tsunami warnings across Asia, and a large-scale rescue operation that is still underway. Let's now take a closer look at this incident. Hello and welcome to another episode of Deep Dive brought to you by NewsX. I'm Shivani Singh, and today we'll take a look at this powerful earthquake measured at magnitude 7.8 by several monitoring agencies that struck shortly after 7:30 a.m. in the morning of the local region. Its epicenter was located near General Santos City in southern Mindanao, one of the Philippines' largest and most economically important regions. The quake occurred at a relatively shallow depth, making the shaking far more destructive on the surface within seconds. Buildings began swaying violently. CCTV footage and videos shared on social media showed several people running out of shopping centers, schools and offices. In several locations, concrete walls cracked and sections of buildings collapsed entirely. One of the most widely circulated videos showed the upper floor of a Jollibee restaurant collapsing in General Santos City as terrified residents ran for safety. Other videos captured students screaming and gathering in open grounds as school buildings shook around them. The disaster struck at a particularly unfortunate time. Schools across the region had either just reopened or were preparing for classes when the earthquake hit. In Davao del Sur, part of a high school structure reportedly collapsed while students were assembled outside. Teachers were seen rushing children away from unstable buildings as aftershocks continued. The first challenge for authorities was understanding the scale of the disaster. Initial reports spoke only of a handful of casualties. However, as rescue teams began reaching collapsed structures, the death toll steadily climbed. By the afternoon, officials reported that at least 19 fatalities, more than 130 injuries, and multiple people were missing. Some reports put the number of injured above 200 as hospitals across Mindanao treated victims suffering from crush injuries, fractures, and trauma. Authorities have warned that these numbers could rise further as rescue operations continue. As if the earthquake itself was not enough, another threat emerged within minutes. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center and regional monitoring agencies issued tsunami alerts for parts of the Philippines, Indonesia, and several neighboring countries. Authorities warned that waves of up to 3 meters could be possible in some coastal areas closest to the epicenter. Emergency sirens sounded in several coastal communities, and residents were ordered to move inland or to higher ground immediately. Authorities in Philippines and Indonesia urged residents to move to higher ground immediately as a tsunami of up to 3 feet hit some Philippine coasts. Thousands of people evacuated beaches, fishing villages, and coastal settlements across southern Mindanao. Indonesia also activated monitoring mechanisms as the threat spread across the region. Eventually, only relatively small tsunami waves were recorded in affected areas, and the major warning was downgraded. Nevertheless, officials say that the evacuations were necessary because the initial seismic readings suggested a significant tsunami risk. The earthquake's impact, in fact, extended far beyond the immediate epicenter. Power outages were reported in several districts. Telecommunications were disrupted in parts of Mindanao, making it difficult for families to contact relatives. Roads suffered cracks, commercial buildings were damaged, and emergency services struggled to assess hundreds of reports simultaneously. More than 3 dozen structures are reported to have sustained significant damage. Compounding the crisis was a relentless sequence of aftershocks. Seismologists recorded well over 100 aftershocks following the main earthquake, with some measuring above magnitude 6. Several of these tremors were strong enough to be felt by residents already traumatized by their first quake. Rescue workers were repeatedly forced to pause operations whenever major aftershocks occurred, fearing additional collapses. Many visuals have additionally surfaced and have spread widely throughout the internet, like a visual of a pool swashing around in Davao City during the earthquake. The President of Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., has addressed the nation soon after the disaster, urging residents to prioritize safety and comply with evacuation orders. Schools in affected regions were suspended, emergency shelters were activated, and search and rescue teams were deployed across the hardest hit provinces. The government also began rapid damage assessments to determine the scale of reconstruction that may be required. The tragedy has once again highlighted why the Philippines remains one of the world's most disaster-prone countries. The nation sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, a vast zone where several tectonic plates meet. This region experiences frequent earthquakes and volcanic activity, making powerful seismic events a constant threat. Mindanao itself has experienced devastating earthquakes before, including the catastrophic Moro Gulf earthquake and tsunami of 1976, one of the deadliest natural disasters in Philippine history. For now, the focus remains on rescue and relief. Emergency workers continue searching damaged buildings, hospitals remain on high alert, and authorities are warning residents to prepare for more aftershocks. As daylight revealed the full scale of the destruction across Mindanao, the earthquake left behind not only collapsed structures and damaged infrastructure, but also a nation once again confronting the devastating power of nature, in fact. Joining us on this broadcast is Dr. O.P. Mishra, Director, National Center for Seismology, Ministry of Earth Sciences. Thank you so much, Doctor, for taking out your time and for speaking to NewsX. I want to understand from your perspective how powerful this earthquake really was. Philippines sits in the Pacific Ring of Fire. It's prone to such earthquakes, but I want to understand how massive was this, because it's one of the greatest disasters this country has seen in decades. We are also looking at those tsunami warnings that came 7.8, sir. It's a magnitude far beyond that we see.
Yeah, good evening. I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Yeah, good evening. There is a little change. I am the former director of National Center for Seismology and SARC Disaster Management Center.
Right, sir.
Actually, this is indeed a very massive earthquake, just like a massive heart attack, because earthquake we define as a heart attack of the earth. So this is actually 7.8 magnitude earthquake occurred in offshore. But the good thing is that it was under the sea. That's why the more damages is not expected as compared to that of the land earthquake, similar type of the magnitude, could have been more devastating. So most of the seismic energy is being attenuated in the water column, in the depth. But of course, there was the rupture, and so there was the chances of the tsunami alert. They actually alerted for the 3-meter tsunami height, but it happened about nearing the 2 meters. Tsunami heights were there. Actually, if you see the tectonic conditions, tectonic tension and compression of the region, it was actually Philippines is actually sandwiched between the many plates. It was starting from the northern part of the Pacific Sea plate, then the Mariana Sea plate. Come to down is the several is equal to other plates like the Carolina plate and the Bird's the head plate. But where the Philippine Sea plate is subducting beneath the Sunda plate, it was in the southern part. Come to the northwest part or the north southern part, it is Amur plate as well as the Angie plate. So it was all sandwiched, and there was the several is equal to trenches where the plate subduction has started. And there is a lot of the plate motions in different directions. As a result of this, the zone is very much expected to yield the earthquake. And from the past history, you can see that it is not the first time. If you come to just in the October 2023, there was a massive earthquake happening of magnitude 7.4. You go for the 1990, there was also the Mindanao, where is the Mindanao, the same place, the earthquake happened. So it was the ring of fire, and there are so many trenches and triple junctions of the plate. So earthquake was expected to happen of the 7 magnitude, and even the 8 magnitude 7.6 happened in the similar zone of about 100 kilometer or 50 kilometer away of the periphery. So of course it was expected zone. Philippines know that this is the a very tectonic tension and compression zone, earthquake is bound to happen. It was also a tsunami-genic earthquake because they give the warning of the magnitude base, that is 7, more than 7, they can give the warning. But in our country, INQUAS is giving the warning not only based on magnitude, there are the many factors there. But the damages happened to the structures. This means that the shaking frequency was the powerful, which is overcome the structural frequency. So it was beyond the resonance and matching the frequency. So there is the resonance. So a structure damaged and collapsed. But at the same time, it gives some structure survives. That means which is the building code, which was the survival of the not matching of the structural frequency and shaking frequency. That means you cannot stop the earthquake, but at least you can take the measures of the structure and infrastructure earthquake risk resilient building codes. And of course they had code, but that code needs to be revised now because the subsurface conditions are very dynamic, just like a dynamic snapshot of the human being, our faces it changes. Similarly, the earth's subsurface is changing its behavior. So seismic frequency, seismic power, generation of the seismic attenuation, dissipation, its impact somewhere amplified, very impact somewhere scattered. This type of things happens. So it was expected zone. Mindanao is the very well-known place where the earthquake happened. So it was not a surprise.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your perspective on this issue. With that, viewers, we are wrapping up this discussion.